Hello, and welcome to my presentation. This is my very first presentation in person here at the Huntington Beach Senior Center. And I think some of you may have met me before, and I recognize some of you in person now. So thank you so much for coming. Today we'll be talking about healthy eating for your kidneys. I'm here from Hoag Hospital. I've been there for 40 years. I just had my 40th anniversary in January. And I love speaking to people, and I speak to several different senior centers here in the community and also in South Orange County. So I am so happy to be here in person. Thank you so much for coming. So hopefully all of you have the printed slides, and the other handouts are very nice to have also because they're from the Dairy Council of California. And also they give you information on what are good beverages to drink and healthy eating and healthy activity for you. So please take that and share that with your family. Before I start today, I wanted to just mention that I'm going to be speaking about healthy eating for your kidneys. I am not going to be addressing special diets for those that have kidney disease or kidney failure. So I understand a couple of you are here for that reason, but I'm not going to be going over that. I'm going to be talking about eating healthy for your kidneys. But I'm sure this will be very helpful for all of you involved. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to be speaking for about 45 minutes, and the last 15 minutes or so, I will address your questions, okay? Okay, so today we want to go over the objectives. And the first thing I want to talk about is actually what are the roles of your kidneys. Now we know we have two kidneys, and which is nice because that we always have one. If one doesn't work, the other one will hopefully do the trick. So we really want to take care of both of our kidneys, but in case there is a problem with one of the kidneys, we do definitely want to keep the other one working very well also. So we'll talk about the important roles of the kidneys and why we need to keep them working well and why they're so important for us. We'll also talk about the 5 risk factors, or at least the main risk factors, that can harm our kidneys. Some of the things we do on a daily basis can actually keep our kidneys healthier, and some can actually harm them. So we'll go over all those. How can we keep our kidneys healthy? What are some of the tips for eating to keep our kidneys healthy? We'll talk about some of the diet plans. There are so many diet plans out there in the community that we are very confused at times on what to follow. So we'll talk about the 2 most popular and most helpful diet plans. We'll also talk about the question that comes up all the time, do I need to take nutritional supplementation? We'll go over that. And then last but not least, we'll talk about the importance of regular exercise for your kidneys. So the National Kidney Foundation is actually a leading United States organization that's dedicated to the awareness, prevention, and treatment of kidney disease. So they have given us the most recent statistics that 26 million Americans have kidney disease. About 73 million are actually at risk due to family history of kidney failure or diabetes or hypertension. We also know that African Americans have 3 times the risk, and Hispanics have 1.5 times the risk. So these are just some of the most recent statistics from the National Kidney Foundation. Kidney disease actually falls in the top 10 leading causes of death in the United States. It's number 9. So we don't hear about it a lot. You hear about people having maybe heart disease or diabetes or other kinds of things, but you don't really hear about kidneys, but they are very important, and they are one of the top 10 leading causes of death. So why are they so important for us? Well, first of all, these are just some of the few. There are many, many roles of our kidneys, and these actually are the top ones that I feel are important to mention. The first one is that, of course, it filters the wastes and toxins from our blood. So as you know, if our kidneys are not working well, we have to go through dialysis, which is where they use an artificial kidney to do the trick of your real kidneys. And they actually can keep us alive because they are filtering all the waste and the toxins from our blood. The kidneys also regulate our body's fluid levels. Now our bodies are at least 65% water. So there's a lot of fluids in our body, and the kidneys are responsible for keeping those levels in balance. The kidneys also produce a very active form of vitamin D. And vitamin D is important too for our healthy bones. You know, we think of calcium, we think of protein, we think of magnesium and all these different minerals for our bones, but we don't think of vitamin D. But vitamin D is necessary to work together with those minerals to keep our bones healthy. The kidneys also release a hormone which regulates our blood pressure. This is so important. This hormone is called renin. And renin actually controls the production of two other hormones, angiotensin and aldosterone. And these are all important in keeping our blood pressure good as much as possible. To be continued here, the kidneys also release a hormone that directs the production of red blood cells called erythropoietin, or EPO. This is important. Say if you donate blood or you give blood for lab tests or you lose blood because of an injury, our bodies make up for that blood. We build those blood cells right away. In fact, I know I used to give blood a lot, you know, just donate blood, and they said within 24 hours, your body makes that pint of blood. You know, so you need to drink a lot of water and make sure that you keep your kidneys working well so they'll do their job and make those red blood cells to replace. The kidneys also keep our blood minerals in balance, and some of these are very, very important. Your sodium, your potassium, and your phosphorus. Sodium and potassium are actually electrolytes. Electrolytes are so important because they affect our muscles in our body. Well, potassium is very, very important because potassium affects muscles, and your heart is a muscle. So if you have too much potassium or not enough potassium, that's not good either way. So you really want to keep your potassium within normal levels. And then the last one we'll be talking about today is that it removes, the kidneys remove drugs from our bodies. So you know when you eat or you drink anything or you take drugs, whether they're over-the-counter drugs or whether you take drugs that are prescription, the liver has to detoxify any drugs that your body that's foreign to your body. Well, then the kidneys take those drugs and then they get rid of it through our urine. So you know we make our urine through the kidneys, so it's really important that our kidneys work well. Okay, so those are sort of some of the things that the kidneys do. Well, what actually can damage the kidneys? So we want to talk about some of the major ones, and of course diabetes, the high blood sugar that can go through our blood, go through our arteries and our veins. This can actually cause damage to the kidneys too, because it goes through the whole body. As we know, diabetes can affect your eyes, your heart, your kidneys, your nerves, and, so kidneys are just one of them. And again, that's one of the things you want to keep in control, your diabetes, if you have that. Heart disease also, if you have atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. Again, if you have hardening of the arteries in your heart, which probably means you have it in your kidneys and in your brain, so it probably goes through the whole body if you have atherosclerosis. So you really want to keep your cholesterol levels good and keep your atherosclerosis in, try to avoid that, or at least keep that under control. High blood pressure or hypertension can actually damage the blood vessels in the kidneys too. So all that blood, just the high pressure of the blood pushing through the kidneys can hurt the kidneys. If you have family history of kidney failure, diabetes, heart disease, or high blood pressure, this is something you can't do anything about if you have family history, but at least find out about it. Find out from your family. Do you have brothers or sisters or relatives that have kidney disease? Because you may have something inherited there. So smoking can cause hardening of the kidneys, and of course smoking, we know that it can cause problems with all of organs in your body, your brain, your heart, your kidneys, and so smoking is something we want to cut down on or cut out altogether if possible. Obesity raises the risk for your kidney damage too. There's a lot more work for the kidneys when you're overweight. And of course, our age, 60 and over, increases the risk. I think most of us are probably in that section. I know I am. So that's something you can't do anything about, is your age also. Okay, what about the fat levels in our body? So these are called lipids. Our fats in the blood they're called lipids. And these are your cholesterol, your HDL, LDL, VLDL, and triglycerides. So when you look at that is a cross-section This is a cross-section here of an artery, and you see the yellow plaque there. That's your atherosclerotic plaque. And you see the yellow here, these are the yellow dots, the balls there, those are low-density lipoproteins. The little blue ones are your HDL, the high-density lipoprotein, and the real small blue ones are the triglycerides. So basically, the LDLs and the triglycerides are what really can actually promote the growth of this atherosclerotic plaque. So you really want to keep those under control. And also VLDLs, those are very low-density lipoproteins. So all of these, except for the HDL, these are the ones you have to really watch out for because they can raise the risk of heart disease, like I said, atherosclerosis in your kidneys, in your brain, so you really want to keep those under control. So your blood cholesterol actually comes from two sources. You'll see the liver here. Oops, sorry. The liver makes cholesterol, and that's one of the functions of the liver. But the liver makes enough cholesterol for us where we don't need to eat a lot of cholesterol through our animal products here. So that's the other source of cholesterol. So we get cholesterol that's made by the liver and cholesterol that's from our animal sources here. So you see the cholesterol goes into our blood level here, in our blood, in the arteries. And you see that there's HDL and then the LDL. So the HDL, we call those the good guys. These actually help get rid of the bad cholesterol in your system. Where the LDLs, we call those low down lousy. Those are the ones that can cause the atherosclerosis to appear. So you want to reduce those and you want to raise these. So make sure when you get your blood levels done with your physicians every year, maybe even twice a year, make sure you get a copy of your lipids, your lab values, and make sure that they're under control, and then keep them for the next year so you can compare them each year. Sometimes you can go on the computer and actually look up your results and just keep track of them that way. So what are ways to control these risk factors? Well, I'm here today to talk about the diet, obviously. And of course, I think the diet is the main way that you can keep your kidneys in good shape. So we want to talk about your diet. And also, which we'll talk about in a minute, your cholesterol levels, as we mentioned, you want to keep those in control either through diet, exercise, possibly some medications to help lower the cholesterol. Your blood pressure, same thing. You want to lower that too, and that can be through diet, exercise, weight loss, medication. Alcohol consumption, this is so important. Many people ask me, what about alcohol? Well, alcohol is a drug, and of course when you drink alcohol, the liver has to detoxify it, then it goes through the kidneys, and the kidneys continue the detoxification and get rid of it through the urine. So when we talk about alcohol, we like to say that let's talk about alcohol in moderation. And then people ask me, well, what is moderation? So this is moderation. Are you listening? Okay. So for a man, they say 2 drinks. A drink is defined as 3 to 4 ounces of wine or 1.5 ounces of hard liquor. So for female, it's 1 drink, and for a male, it's 2 drinks, and that's moderation. Okay. So when I ask my patients, how big is that wine glass you drink? And they're honest with me, I'm surprised at some of the sizes of these glasses. So be careful. So that's why I always say 3 to 4 ounces if you can. That's one drink or 1.5 ounces of hard alcohol. Okay, smoking is so important, as I mentioned before. If you do smoke, try to stop it or cut down as much as possible because that does hurt the kidneys. And obesity actually raises the risk twice as much to develop kidney disease. And of course, we can't control family history, as we mentioned before, and our age, we can't control that. So following a special diet, following a balanced diet, there's nothing too special about what I'm going to be talking about today. What I'm going to be talking about today is actually good for your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your body, bodies all together. So controlling our weight, keeping our cholesterol levels within normal range, drink in moderation, and we know what that is, and also to keep hydrated. We'll be talking about the importance of keeping hydrated and how much you particularly need, because it depends on how much you weigh, and there's different factors we have to look at as far as how much fluid that you yourself individually needs. Okay, we'll talk about exercising regularly, and that's something that you do need to talk to your doctor about, making sure that you exercise according to what you can tolerate. If you smoke, quit. Get an annual physical every year. And as I mentioned before, know your family's history of kidney disease. Okay? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the diet now. This is the part that I think is so important. And I know a lot of us say, well, I know a lot about diet already, but hopefully today you'll learn something new. That, that we have been updating our information, and we know more about diet now than we ever have. So, of course, fruits and vegetables, whether they're fresh, frozen, canned, or dried, they are good for you, okay? Fresh will probably give you more fiber, which is important. Frozen, they usually process them right away after they're harvested, and then they're processed. Same thing with your frozen and your canned fruits and vegetables. And your dried is also very good. They just take the water out of it. So all these are very good. And you do need to have a variety of different colors of fruits and vegetables. Why do I say that? Because the colors actually mean that those fruits and vegetables have a variety of anthocyanins, phytochemicals, and these are all the anti-inflammatory agents we need to prevent disease. So we really want to have a variety of fruits and vegetables, different colors. When it comes to whole grains, we want to make sure that we do use the whole grains rather than white bread and white cereals and all that. So we want to use whole grain breads and cereals. You'll see even your pasta, you can get whole grain also. Because we do need to have the fiber, and there's actually two different kinds of fiber, which we don't go into a lot here, but the soluble fibers especially will help you reduce your blood cholesterol and your blood sugars if you have diabetes. Okay, when it comes to dairy products, there's a lot of products out there. There's non-fat, there's low-fat or light. When you get to milk, you can get the non-fat or low-fat, cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese, even popsicles and things can be light and low-fat. So there's a lot of different things out there, more now than there ever has been. So you can still enjoy your dietary intake and not have to eat a lot of fat and cholesterol. When it comes to protein, again, you want to use the lean protein. Here we have your lean beef, ground beef. We have your chicken here, your turkey breast, and fish. These are all very, very good. The chicken breast, the ground beef here is actually 90% fat-free, so it only has 10% fat. But you can actually do better and get a 93% fat-free, which means it only has 7% fat. And then the breast is always best because they have less fat and cholesterol in them. And again, you want to avoid the skin on the chicken and the turkey, right? And try to avoid the dark meat. I know a lot of people like the dark meat better, I know, but it's better to use the white meat if you can. And fish is so good for you. And fish, especially salmon, and other fishes too, but there's a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, which we don't go into a lot today, but it's actually good, very good for anti-inflammatory, good for your brains also. Many of us are watching our carbohydrates because we feel that they make us gain weight and this and that, which, too much of anything is going to make you gain weight, right? Carbohydrates give you calories just like protein and fat do. But when you eat too much protein and you cut out the carbohydrates, when you're eating too much protein, you're putting more stress on your kidneys. One of the things the kidneys do also is to get rid of, it breaks down the protein products, of the proteins that you eat in your body, and gets rid of the ammonia, which is one of the byproducts. So anyways, you really want to watch out for eating too much red meat. And also red meat has more cholesterol in it too, especially if you don't use the lean red meat. So if you're going to use red meat, use the lean as we showed you before, and the other lean proteins that we talked about. So carbohydrates are not terrible for you. Just make sure that you're keeping everything in moderation, your carbohydrates, your fats, and your protein. Okay, what about sodium? This is something I always end up talking about sodium because it's so important. Sodium is found mainly, of course, in salt. And it's very important for us. We do need some sodium, but again, we don't need as much as we normally eat. A teaspoon of sodium, a teaspoon of salt actually has 2,300 milligrams of sodium, which is really what the American Heart Association recommends for a healthy adult. Some of us, if we have heart problems or kidney problems, it goes down to 1,500 milligrams of sodium. So a teaspoon has like 2,300. So we're not even talking about the sodium that's in our foods naturally. Like, you know, your animal products have natural sodium that you can't take that out of that. You know, you can't reduce that. So basically you want to just not add any extra salt to your foods and try to use more spices. You want to avoid your processed foods, your deli meats, cheese spreads. If it says instant, like instant potato or instant oatmeal, that word instant means it has more sodium in it. That's what they use to make it cook faster. So make sure you know that. And potato chips, crackers, a lot of these, you can get these that are salt-free and low salt also if you can. That's always a better idea. But giving up salt doesn't mean giving up flavor. There are so many ways you can get good flavor in your food with spices and herbs. And they can add a lot of color to your foods and a lot of great taste and flavor without adding the sodium. Here we have some herbs and spices that are just really, really nice. And again, there's no sodium in them, so you want to do that. I do want to mention, if you are using a salt substitute because you're trying to watch your sodium, be careful not to use the ones that have potassium chloride if you have a problem with your potassium. So if you're going to be using a salt substitute, check with your doctor first, find out what your potassium levels are, because if you're taking a potassium chloride like new salt, some of these are just totally salt substitutes, they have potassium in them. So if you're trying to watch your potassium, you want to watch out for that. So if you use herbs and spices, you won't have that problem. Or if you use some that are just basically a mixture of herbs and spices, that would be fine. So that's really important to know. If you have a problem with potassium, you have to watch what you're using as far as a salt substitute. So you want to say no to all these foods like sausage and bacon and bologna and luncheon meats and cookies, and a lot of these have a lot of sodium. Chips, you'll see them, you know, Cheetos, all these, they have a lot. But you can also get these that are lower in sodium too if you're using the snacks. What about sugar? So this is something that I want to talk about a little bit too, because, you know, we talk about carbohydrates, we talk about diabetes and this and that. And of course, diabetes can lead to heart disease, can lead to kidney disease. So we do want to watch out for sugars. And diabetes and obesity are actually linked to kidney disease. There's actually studies that show this. And just because it tastes good, it doesn't mean it's your friend. So be careful about your sugars. I want to go over a little bit about the two types of carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates is a fancy word for sugar. So we have simple carbohydrates here, which has very little or no fiber. So these are not as good for you because they're really simple. They raise your blood sugars right away, like sugar, honey, candy. Fruit juices really don't have any fiber in it, hardly. White breads, white pita, white bagels and crackers, muffins, dry cereals that are like white rice or corn cereals, white potatoes, things like that. So, you know, you really want to use more of the higher carbohydrate or the higher complex carbohydrate foods, and these are better for you, like oatmeal, corn, barley, brown rice. These have more fiber. Beans, peas, lentils, vegetables have a lot of fiber. Little pastas, especially if they're whole grain and al dente. Yams and sweet potatoes are very, very high in fiber, and they're very high in vitamin A. They're just so good for you. And then when you talk about fresh and whole raw fruits, try to use, again, a variety. And the ones that contain pectin, like apples, citrus fruits, and strawberries, these are actually very good for that soluble fiber, as I was talking about earlier. Oatmeal is great for soluble fiber. Remember, that's the fiber that helps reduce your cholesterol and your blood sugars, your glucose levels. So about 2 to 4 servings a day. We don't want to overdo on fruit because, again, fruit has sugar in it, so you really don't want to eat too much fruit either. I mean, again, everything in moderation, right? Okay, and when it comes to beverages, really, really be careful for sodas. They're very, very high in calories, of course, especially the regular ones. There's like 10 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can of soda, of regular soda. So that's 160 calories of just plain sugar with really no nutrients. And also if you use the dark colas like Dr. Pepper or Pepsi or Coke, they have the dark colors that they use, they use phosphorus in there, and that actually puts more work on your kidneys too. So if you're going to be using like a diet 7-Up or something would be better because it's light, it's not the dark colored colas. Okay, now the question comes, how much fluid do I need? And again, like I said, this is very easy to figure out. We'll talk about exactly how to figure it out in a minute, but as I mentioned before, your bodies are about 55 to 65% total water. So even in our hair, in our skin, all parts of our body have water in it. And so we do need to keep drinking enough water to keep our bodies working well with all the fluids. And so the water actually keeps our cells and body systems running smoothly. It helps maintain our blood volume. As I mentioned, when we lose blood, our bodies make up more blood cells with more water. And actually the fluids help provide a medium for the biochemical cellular reactions. We have those running through our bodies, throughout our whole bodies. So we need water for that. And actually to remove waste products through our urine, through the kidneys. So you know when we drink a lot, we tend to urinate more, which is good. That means you're using your kidneys and they're working well. So what's the best fluid? Well, of course, I think most of us know that water is always the safest, right? So water is very good. Decaffeinated fluids actually count as fluids also. So if you have like decaffeinated tea or coffee or juice or milk or that type of thing without caffeine, that works as fluid also. Your fruits and vegetables, some of them have more water in them, like watermelons, oranges, grapefruit, grapes. There's a lot of fluids in your fruits and vegetables too, so they give you a lot of fluid. So how do you figure out how much you need? So we have a real easy way here. So you take your body weight, and you want to round it off, you can, and you multiply it times 1/2 ounce per pound. So basically, if you divide your weight by 2, and that tells you how many ounces that you are going to need. Okay, and then you divide that number of ounces by 8 ounces per cup, and then you get the number of cups of fluid that you need for the day, including water, decaffeinated fluids, fruits, and vegetables. So I have an example here. If you weigh 150 pounds, you divide that by 2 or you multiply it times 0.5, it's the same. And you get 75, so half of 150 is 75 ounces. And then to find out how many cups, you divide the 75 by 8 ounces per cup, and that's how many cups you need for the day. Now this is going to vary depending on how much you weigh. So the more you weigh, the more fluid you need. Okay, the less you weigh, the less fluid. So, and again, it doesn't have to be pure water. All of the fluids that you drink that are non-caffeinated are considered fluid. Okay, what about the optimal diet plans? There are so many diet plans out there, and you know, people come up to me with different books and diets, and this physician wrote this, and this person wrote this. And you know, it's really hard to keep track of all those, keep up on all those. But what we know for sure, and this has been going for the last few years, that the Mediterranean diet is probably one of the safest, healthiest programs out there. Many of you, how many of you have heard of the Mediterranean diet? Yeah, I think it's really a good program. It shows you here that, that you use less meats and less sweets. And then as you go throughout as it gets larger portions here, weekly you can have eggs, cheese, yogurt. Again, you want to use the lean if you can here, the low fat. And then more often you can use your fish and seafood, all different kinds of seafood. And then more every day you can use vegetables, fruits, whole grains, olive oil, nuts, you know, legumes, seeds, herbs, and spices. These you want to use the most. And of course you want to exercise every day and eat with your families and eat with your loved ones. I think it's so important because it pushes for all the great things that help you keep healthy. And of course, wine in moderation, and that would be alcohol, any too. But of course, Mediterranean do push for the wine, especially your red wine. And then of course, water every day. The next diet I want to talk about is the DASH diet. How many of you have heard of the DASH diet? Almost as many as the Mediterranean. Now the DASH is actually very good. It's so similar to the Mediterranean diet. DASH stands for Dietary Approach to Stop Hypertension. So it's mostly for people that really want to lower their blood pressure, but it's very good for your heart, it's very good for your kidneys also. And you see here, again, they use very little fats and sweets, same thing as the Mediterranean, low-fat dairy, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of your whole grain breads and cereals, lean proteins, and legumes, nuts. So it's pretty much almost just exactly like your Mediterranean. Okay, so DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. It's just an acronym. It's an eating plan that's based on research studies by the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. And they've actually shown that this program lowers blood pressure and improves levels of cholesterol, which I'm sure the Mediterranean diet does also. So this reduces your risk of heart disease, which will help your kidneys also. Okay, so you want to use more fruits and vegetables, fat-free dairy products, whole grain breads and cereals, fish, poultry, beans, seeds, nuts. Limiting your sweets, your sodium, sugary beverages, and red meats. Promoting a healthy weight, exercising, not smoking, and all these can help lower your blood pressure. So keeping your blood pressure intact will really help keeping your heart in good shape and also your kidneys. So again, we want to use herbs and spices. When you're cooking, you want to broil. You don't want to fry. You want to bake, barbecue, grill. These are very good ways. And again, take the skin off the fish, the chicken, and the turkey. Try to use the white meat. Avoid high sugar foods, especially those with added sugar. Try to use your complex carbohydrates, as we mentioned earlier, not the simple sugars. Eat non- or low-fat dairy products, lean proteins. More fruits and vegetables, as I mentioned, whole grain breads and cereals. And check your nutrition food labels also when you're buying canned or frozen foods. And check for fats, sodiums, and sugar. The nutrition food label now is a lot easier to understand than it used to be in the past. When you notice the USDA now have improved the nutrition label to make the words protein, fat, and carbohydrates, and calories, and serving sizes all in bold letters, so they're easier to understand. Remember, that nutrition label is for one serving. So you have to ask yourself, how many servings are you eating? Do you need to double it or triple it? Because that's what they only talk about per serving. So you got to find out what a serving is. And you need to make your snack times healthy and worthwhile too. So I always recommend like 3 meals a day and maybe a snack in between, like a snack between breakfast and lunch, just maybe a light snack, maybe just a piece of fruit and some protein with that, maybe in the afternoon before you go to bed, but something light, before you go to bed. The question about nutrition supplementation, this is really a very individualized one too. Many people talk to their doctors, or they'll even, I'll recommend them to talk to the dietitian or pharmacist as to what if they should take a multiple vitamin mineral supplement or any special minerals, individually, that type of thing. I always recommend that you talk to your doctor or dietitian or pharmacist about what they would recommend for you, because they know what you're on and they know what your diagnosis may have. You may have a special diagnosis. If you have problems with your kidneys, again, there's a special formula for your vitamins and minerals, because if the kidneys are not working, then they have to watch out for potassium, phosphorus, calcium. So there's special formula for vitamin mineral supplement for those that have kidney disease. But for most of us here, you can use a regular 1-a-day multiple vitamin. I recommend even a generic. I don't say that you have to use a high cost, named multiple vitamin supplement. And if you have a question, you can always go to consumerlab.com right down here. This is a really great website, and you can put in whatever brand that you buy and see how it falls as far as quality. And usually I try to get something that has 100% of every vitamin and mineral in it. Okay, so that's really a good thing. If you buy packets of vitamins and minerals, you may have 50% of this vitamin, 2,000% of this vitamin, what your needs are, and that's not good. You can actually hurt yourself more by using those really high potent vitamins and minerals. You can actually get sick doing that and hurt your liver and your kidney from overdoing vitamins and minerals. So make sure you take something that has 100% of each nutrient. Okay, what about exercise? So last but not least, we want to talk about exercise. And how many of you are on exercise program now? Or that's okay, good, good. Some of you come here for exercise too, I would imagine, huh? Yeah. So anyways, it's really good. Exercise if you do on a daily basis, or at least, like I mentioned before, talk to your doctors about what you can do, but that's not going to cause injury to you. So we know that exercise can help lower the blood pressure. It can reduce your cholesterol and triglyceride levels. We talked about the HDLs, you know, the high density, the good guys. It actually can raise HDLs if you exercise, so that's good. Increases insulin sensitivity, which is great, and to control your weight, and also to control your blood sugars if you have diabetes or that type of thing. Also increases your muscle strength, so exercise is so good, it raises your endurance. And it improves your sleep. If you exercise and keep busy all day, you're going to sleep better. So how much exercise do you need? And again, this is a very individualized program. Answer to this would be, it's all individual too, because if you haven't exercised in the past, you really want to talk to your doctor and maybe start on a very low program, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes of mild exercise, so you don't want to get, you don't want to get hurt. And it could be just with a group. And I think you exercise better if you have a friend to exercise with or a group. You can actually build more, if you do that, then you can actually build up gradually to more strenuous exercises, aerobic exercises, which we'll show you on the next slide. Increase by 15-minute increments. So start off 10 minutes, maybe go to 15, maybe even 20, 25, 30, or even just go from 15 to 30 if you can. And always check with your doctor first, as I mentioned. These are some of the aerobic exercises that are very good for you. And many of you might already be, many of you may be doing this already. Swimming is so good, even aerobic exercise in swimming, aerobic dancing, rowing, walking, cycling. These are all very good for you. And again, you don't have to do it on a daily basis, but maybe 3 times a week start off, maybe 10 minutes, that type of thing. If you can, also you can use an elliptical trainer, like a stationary exercise machine. And this you may get if you're going to a place where you do physical exercise, either physical therapy or maybe at a fitness hall there. You can walk, run, and make sure that you use the stair climber, but do it slowly if you're not used to that, because you don't want to cause too much pressure on the joints. You can also use upper body ergometer, which is a piece of equipment that is good for your cardiovascular workout, and this is for the upper body also. So, there's just different ways, but you might want to just talk to a trainer to see what you can do, because you don't want to get hurt, because what happens is if you get hurt, then you never go back. So you really want to do it and be safe with whatever choices that you do for your exercise. So in summary, for healthy kidneys, you can see how important the kidneys are for you, and that we do need to keep track of what we're doing as far as what we're eating, what we're doing as far as seeing the doctor, what medications we're taking. We have a lot to do to take care of ourselves, but our kidneys can only work as well as we let them, and if we take good care of them, they're going to take good care of us also. So we want to consume a healthy, balanced diet with adequate vitamins and minerals. Of course, we want to continue using the healthy low-fat proteins and dairy, a colorful variety of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, breads and cereals. Keep hydrated by drinking plenty of fluids. This is, I can't tell you enough. And we've also have seen too that drinking a lot of water keeps our brains good too. Keeps our brains really good, which we want to do. So keeping a lot of fluids and exercise helps our brains also. Also controlling your blood pressure, lipids, and glucose levels is so important to keep your kidneys in good shape. Controlling your weight. You know what's good for you. You don't want to be too thin or too overweight. You want to really know what you feel good at. Exercise regularly. Don't smoke, or cut down on smoking if you do smoke. And keep your alcohol to 1 or 2 drinks a day, depending if you're a man or a woman. And always go to your medical checkups. Find out, like I said, if you have any family history of kidney problems too, because I think this will help a lot in showing you that you do need to really be on top of things. Anyway, so that's all I have to say today, and I'm going to open it now for questions. Yes, sir?
What about condiments like mustard and spices?
Okay, I'm going to repeat all the questions, okay? What about condiments, mustard, and all those? Well, they are very high in sodium. So if you're going to be using condiments, again, you might want to limit how much you use because they're just like using salt, you know. I don't really, they do have hot mustard you can buy that's like that Coleman's dry mustard that has no sodium, but it's really hot, spicy. I think if you use some of the, like the Dijon mustards, they have less sodium in it because I think they have a little bit of wine in it to give it some flavor. So you can compare the sodium values of your mustards there too, but still limit it to a teaspoon if you can. Good question, though. Yes, sir.
My doctor made a really big deal about excessive use of Advil. Can you mention anything at all?
Okay, his question is, his doctor mentioned the excessive use of Advil. Of course, that's not a dietary question, but I know that from my working with patients in the past, especially working with people in dialysis, that it can put extra work on your kidneys. You know, Advil does, and aspirin does too. So you might want to talk to him about how much you should have, or if you should use maybe like a Tylenol instead, or that type of thing. It might be less work on your kidneys. But I know Advil is one of the ones that you have to watch out for. Yes, thank you. Yes?
One drink a day, is that one drink a day?
Oh, okay. The question is for women, is it one drink a day? Yes, for women. It's one drink a day. So a drink would be considered 3 to 4 ounces of wine or 1.5 ounces of hard alcohol. And then for men, it's 2 drinks a day. Yes?
Has there been any studies about intermittent fasting on the kidneys?
Has there been any studies on intermittent fasting on the kidneys? I haven't seen any. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. So I think fasting, I'm one of those that would be really weary about fasting. I know a lot of people say, can I fast? You know, I want to cleanse out my body. I want to help my kidneys. I think if you eat well and take care of your body every day, then you don't need to fast. You know, I think if you're drinking enough fluids, taking enough fiber, eating balanced like we showed you today, then you're going to keep your bodies working as well as you can. But fasting can actually do harm if you do it too long, you know, and if you're doing it with the wrong, sometimes you have to use special kinds of, like, I don't know, substances like mushrooms and certain kinds of, maybe you have to use sea salt, which is not different than regular salt, and it can be very costly for you, because I know I have a friend that did that, and she didn't feel any better and didn't do any better with it. So just be careful when you do that. Talk to your doctor about that, but I don't know if it's going to help the kidneys if you're fasting or not. What you should do is do it well every day. Good questions. Yes?
That's another thing, canola oil, I heard is not good at all. They want me to eat
Okay. She said that she heard that canola oil was not good. So that's a little red flag that I'm hearing right there. And then you said raw butter was good. Yeah, you be careful where you get your information from, because, and I'm not cutting this person down, this doctor, this book. There's a lot of books out there written, and they're not written with scientific evidence. I would look at the books that are from the American Heart Association, the National Kidney Foundation, the American Diabetes Association, that are actually with science-based, because you're going to see a lot of programs like what you're talking about. Raw butter is obviously not going to be a good choice, because butter is a saturated fat and has cholesterol, and that could raise your risk for heart disease. Where canola oil is actually a good oil, it's a polyunsaturated, and olive oil is a monounsaturated. Those are the better oils for you. Yeah. So if you're going to be raising your fat, make sure you use the right kind of oils. But watch out for butter. Yeah.
I drink a lot of diet sodas for liquids.
Well, that's a good question. He drinks a lot of diet sodas. Now, you're drinking the colas, the dark ones? Yeah.
Colas is
Yeah. Okay.
anything that has no sugar.
Right, and the no sugar part is good, but again, too much of artificial sweeteners are not good for, again, my whole thing is moderation. If you're going to drink it, drink more water if you can, and just drink that once in a while, the diet drinks. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the dark sodas have more phosphorus in it. That has more work on the kidneys. So even though it's diet, it still has the phosphorus, the diet Pepsi, the diet colas, the diet Dr. Pepper. So, but the fact that it's diet still means it has a lot of artificial sweeteners, which too much of that is not good for you either. So I would use more water if you can, and just maybe have the other occasionally, the diet. But yes, too much of anything is not good for the kidneys. Good. Too much water is not good for the kidneys, too much of anything. So again, moderation is the whole thing. Oh, okay, what is kidney failure? Yeah, kidney failure, what happens is when you have your labs done every year, they take your labs, different labs, and they look at your BUN, your blood urea nitrogen, your creatinine, and certain labs, and that shows the function of your kidneys. The GFR, the glomerular filtration rate, and all that, and and your potassium level, and they look at all that. If they see that going up, then they might think that there might be some kidney problems. So the kidneys are supposed to get rid of all these different, try to control the balance of your potassium and your phosphorus and your calcium and your blood urea nitrogen. Those are all ones, and if they go up high, then you start getting what they think that you may have kidney damage. And it could be both kidneys, and usually they'll test the kidneys. They are both kidneys, So some people have a problem with one kidney more than the other. Maybe they were in an accident or they lost a kidney. So then it would only be the one kidney. But if you have two kidneys, usually it's both kidneys that are affected. And then they have different stages. They have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Stage 4 is normally where you need to be on dialysis. Yeah, that's kidney failure.